You've heard it before. The connected age. Life at the speed of the internet. It's a digital world. What you might not have heard is that we can keep it safe. Because at CrowdStrike, we stop breaches. So wherever you go, go with confidence. Anywhere. Welcome to Anywhere. CrowdStrike. We stop breaches.
Every day, bad guys are coming up with new ways to break in, and all defenses are not created equal. You can't focus on your business if you're constantly working to maintain a growing list of security tools that use conventional defenses against unconventional attacks. With CrowdStrike, there's a better way. It starts with an easy-to-deploy, intelligent, lightweight agent that protects any workload, physical, virtual, or mobile, on any cloud, public, private, or hybrid, which connects to the cloud-native Falcon platform. It's born in the cloud, leverages the CrowdStrike threat graph, and via the power of cloud-scale AI and machine learning, it correlates trillions and trillions of events in real time, constantly learning and evolving. So when new threats emerge, Falcon won't be fooled. The Falcon platform has a wide range of modules to meet the unique challenges of modern IT and security teams. It starts with endpoint security modules, cloud security modules, security and IT operations modules, managed services modules, threat intelligence modules, plus the CrowdStrike Store, a diverse and growing marketplace of applications that leverage the CrowdStrike architecture and the single agent, so you can solve new challenges with the same investment. So whatever challenges you face in this new security era, we can help. Because at CrowdStrike, we're built to stop breaches, so you can focus on what matters to your business. CrowdStrike.
Well, good morning, guys. It's a pleasure to join you here from pit lane. And you talk about the warming of tires. That actually was a concern from George Kurtz. I talked to him prior to getting in the car today. I talked to him about the frustration of the drive-through penalty yesterday, but he did say that that rebound win was one of the most gratifying successes of his career. I did ask what success he can use from yesterday to help here today, and his concern was the air temp. It's 50 degrees here, 10 degrees cooler than they raced yesterday. He is worried about the heating of the tires and trying to get that to the tires as fast as possible.
Quest was not expecting Matt to be there, unfortunately. Matt is very aggressive, and he got a little bit rattled after that, too. Once he made it down the chicane, he went a little agricultural. He'll calm himself down and get his head back in the game. He's shown some good speed in previous years, so I'm sure Quest is not happy about it, though.
It's a tough lap for Ross. He lost 3 spots. Dalton got by, Adelson got by, Pappas got by. So that demotes Ross Schwest down to 15th overall, but more importantly, 8th in class. Dalton up to 5th in the GT4 class as it stands. And despite the agricultural expeditions he's been on here as of late, able to pull out a bit of a gap. So Adelson there in the black and yellow, highlighter yellow Porsche Cayman, leading Tim Pappas, who did not make the start yesterday. There were some issues with that car. They got it going in time to run in the Pirelli GT4 America race. And happy to see him making his GT America debut. A day late, unfortunately, but good to see Tim out there and running and having a nice run from towards the back of the field. Back to the front of the field now, and George Kurtz. And it won't be too much longer. And he might be in some of this GT4 traffic. I suspect 4 or 5 laps. We might be having that conversation. This has been the kind of race that George really wanted to have, mistake-free to this point. I know he was kicking himself over the penalty he incurred yesterday. He did tell Amanda he wasn't quite sure how he thought about it, but he used it as motivation, and he drove right up through the field, and it was a really remarkable win, all things considered, to overcome a penalty like that. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, and I talked to Peter Cunningham this morning about it, and Peter told me that it was not a jumping the start issue, but they have a rule as they must maintain at least 100 kilometers per hour when they're coming to take the green flag. And George was moving back and forth a little bit under and over the speed to try to gain an advantage, and that's why he got the penalty.
Looking in here at Sean Quidlin running second in the GT4 class, yesterday's pole sitter, or yesterday's winner. And we got an update on Sean from Amanda.
Yeah, I'm over here by the team now, and they are deep in data, but not concerned one bit, actually. They actually feel that they're in great position. This all comes down to the tires. I know we've been talking about this all morning. What they're looking at those split times, looking at those lap times, and they feel like the gap between Quinlan and Rob Holland is just going to get shorter and shorter.
We'll keep an eye on that for sure, and if they can look after those tires the second half of the race, it could very well come to them. Stephen Cameron was shown there in the middle of the screen. He had Greg Leofouge alongside, who is Sean's driver coach and co-driver in the Sprint X format, the 2-driver format for Pirelli GT4 America. And Steve Cameron is as good as they come on the strategy. He can look at that data as it comes in and really decipher what it's telling him. He can look through those numbers and come to those conclusions. So if he's telling Sean everything's good, then I suspect he's probably right.
Yeah, he's been at it a long time. He's got a ton of experience here. His shop is right here on the premises. So as we look at George Kurtz making his way through the backside of the S's there with a pretty big lead still of 7.5 seconds.
And Steve is the uncle to Dane Cameron.
Correct.
Is that right? And Ricky is Dane's dad?
Yeah, I don't think I'd call him Ricky. But yeah.
Rick? Okay,
Rick,
I apologize. Sorry about that, Rick. Somewhere I thought I heard that, but shows what I know. Anyway, it's quite a racing family. Dane Cameron, of course, raced in this championship a couple of years ago and very nearly won a GT World Challenge championship. There was a little bit of a strange deal with Pro-Am drivers, and he was the pro, and he had several different AMs, and anyway, that's really not worth getting into right now, but he's a very accomplished racer in several different championships, great in Acuras in recent years, both GTs and prototypes. Here's Charlie Luck reeling in Jason Harward coming up the hill here, 15 minutes in, and this battle has really spiced up. Harward has dropped off of Kurtz to the tune of 9.2 seconds. Luck was not all that close to Harward that long ago, but he has reeled him in very steadily over the last couple of laps, running lap times about 0.4 of a second faster than Harward. So he's caught him, but now he's got to find a way past that Lamborghini, and that's going to be the challenge.
Yeah, and the key places you can pass here are turn 7s and turn 11, where there's heavy braking. You see a lot of guys going for the pass into that tricky 9A, 9B chicane, but it usually leads to contact.
Looks like he might have a run here, though. Got a great jump out of the carousel. Put the power down nicely late on the brakes, and Charlie Luck makes the pass through. Harward trying to make the crossover work to come right back. Luck leaves him a lot of space, but nothing that Harward can do. A very nice pass into 7 and 7A. And I think we've got an update from Amanda on the battle we're seeing.
Oh, and I was just talking to the team. You can see Jan up there. They were celebrating as soon as Charlie Luck took over into the second overall position. That is exactly what they were trying to do. But as he was leading the Masters, it really was the question, were they going to lay off here or go for it? Well, we know the answer. They went for it.
Questions answered, that's for sure. Good point, Amanda. And that is a difficult decision to make from the strategy box or from the driver's seat. This is a battle for overall position, but that doesn't really matter. You're here for class honors primarily. How much risk do you want to take? It is beneficial to make the pass. It puts a car between you and your closest competitor, but to what extent do you want to risk the car, risk your race when you're already in the class lead?
I think it's determined by each team, but, there's a lot to be second overall, so I get why they went for it and, why they were so happy.
And credit to both of these drivers, very clean, and it takes two to make a pass.
And I've been impressed by Harward's speed, a pretty new driver to the pro ranks. He's had a lot of speed. I think he's going to develop his racecraft as the season goes on. I see that as an area that he needs a little work on, but he has got the speed to do really well this year.
The good news is he will have Madison Snow as his co-driver who can help him along. Here we see Charlie making a pass of Dan Miller. So that is the car, it appears, that had the issue on the outlap, I'm going to say, because it's the same colors and has some damage at the front. But now we do have our leaders into that GT4 class traffic. Back to Harward, though, real quick. Having a driver, Madison's not an old guy by any means. He's in his mid-20s, I think, but he's got a ton of racing experience and a couple of Utah natives that really didn't know each other until this program came together here in the last couple of weeks, but have high expectations, and I think Jason can really learn a lot from a driver of Madison's caliber and experience level.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be good pairing. It'll be nice to have him back in the SRO series as well. So I look forward to seeing those two run together in the other GT World Challenge series. Got a battle for second there with Novikov and Burton on the front straightaway.
And the teammates here, and this is another one of those thorny situations. How aggressive do you want to be with your teammate? Jeff Burton is known for being a pretty aggressive driver. Lost a little bit of momentum in that attempt a moment ago, and that's brought Jason Daskalos into the fray. Washington hanging right there as well in the GMG racing car. That'll make James Safronis, the GMG racing team owner, a happy guy.
Yeah, this four-car battle has been going on for a while, ebbing and flowing a little bit. You can see they're catching some GT4 traffic, so that may come into play into the carousel.
Yeah, that was the storyline yesterday, although all credit to Miller getting out of the way, getting wide there in the carousel. A difficult place to do it. It can get dusty out there, and we've seen some cars try to be courteous and suffer for it.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner because on the outside it's a little bit off camber, so if you go a little bit too wide, you're going to go slide through the grass.
And for the uninitiated, off camber simply means the inverse of banking, right?
Yes. So it leads to the outside of the track, basically.
So whereas on an oval, for instance, the banking leads you into the corner, off-camber corners do the opposite, and it really presents a challenge from a setup perspective as well as the driver to make sure you can keep that car pointed in the right direction. Novikov versus Burton, heating up once again through the S's here. High speed, high commitment, really leaning on the downforce of these GT3 cars through this part of the track into a heavy braking zone here. This is the tight turn 11. Speeds down to the mid 30 mile per hour range in this quarter, but it's a crucial one and a big jump off here for Burton. He's on the attack now. Halfway home in the second GT America powered by AWS race of the season. And Jeff Burton currently battling with Dmitry Novikov. That is the fight for second in class in the Masters category.
Yeah, we know Burton is definitely aggressive. And yesterday in turn 11, he got a little too aggressive. It's really slippery in there. He got on the painted lines and kind of lost it. And I think he's trying to make up for it now.
Ran Pirelli Gt4 America last year, did Jeff Burton. Finished third in the Sprint Am Championship for the same Reardon Racing team, but did it in an Aston Martin. And he told me a lot of people love the Aston Martin. By all accounts, it's a great car. For whatever reason, he did not click with it. And it's funny the way that goes. So for whatever reason, some drivers are right at home in one car, and it's a completely alien experience if you switch to a different platform.
I think it's just your driving style. I believe that if you start off in a car that's maybe a smaller momentum car, I think the Aston Martin fits your style, because the Aston's very capable over bumps and curbs, more so than these other cars. But if you're coming from a standpoint of a high downforce, high horsepower car, I think another platform may fit you better. And
Jeff got his start in Lamborghini Super Trofeo competition, which is exactly what you're talking about. High power, quite a bit of downforce on that car. Here is the Gt4 Battle. We saw Rob Holland come through. He has been able to build that lead somewhat, although he just gave back a second on that last lap. It was up over 6. Now it's just a shade over 5. So let's keep a close eye on that here in the final 17 minutes. And maybe, as Amanda reported, the race could just be coming back to Sean Quinlan in the Stephen Cameron racing car.
Yeah, I've been watching that, and that's the first lap that Quinlan's been faster. So it may be the crossover point just past halfway. Really something to pay attention to the last 17 minutes.
What I find interesting is that the conventional wisdom throughout the paddock has been the BMW is harder on tires than most. Holland's Mustang is the only Mustang we have here across both this championship and Pirelli Gt4 America, so I'm not completely sure where the Mustang stacks up on tire wear, tire usage. They're kind of similar in a lot of ways, so maybe there is some similarity there as we watch George Kurtz. He's going to be coming through that battle here before much longer.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch, and Drew Stavely and Frank Gannett ran a Mustang in the previous years, and I do believe it's a little tougher on tires. And again, this track has the tires to grade more than any other track we visit, so it's going to be expanded. And I do believe that Quinlan may start catching Holland now.
And that's just down to the track surface being of a particularly abrasive nature, right?
Yeah, abrasive and old. I mean, there's been a lot of laps put on here. So if you imagine a car, thousands of laps on a track is going to smooth it out a little bit. And it's abrasive, but it's at the same time, it has no grip. So
here comes Jeff Burton. He sees his opportunity in traffic, gets to the inside of his teammate Novikov and dispenses of him, and he's going to go for the 2-for-1, trying to get around Ross Schwest, who has dropped off the pace. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but Ross now running back down in the 10th position in the GT4 class. Seems to have given up some pace. Might be a problem with that Mercedes, but a wild moment there and a great opportunity. Jeff Burton, all credit to him, using some experience that he's gained in the last few years. Here comes Daskalos, a GT3 car, knifing through some of this traffic. GT4's in the mix here too. That Schwest car, by the way, a GT4 car, not in the same class as Burton and Novikov. But there was an opportunity there, and Daskalos able to take advantage. He's up another spot. So move Burton into the second position in Masters behind Charlie Luck, who's running second overall, 7 seconds behind the overall leader, George Kurtz. Dmitry Novikov now drop him back into the third position in class. The pass from Daskalos was not a class position, but an overall position. Daskalos now fifth in the overall running order, and that's him right there.
Yeah, that was some wild action through that part of the track, splitting the GT4 cars, traffic coming into play. And that's what we love about this group. And it's really interesting to watch the leaders of GT3 make their way through the GT4 field.
And sitting back patiently watching has been Kyle Washington, the GMG Racing driver, and Amanda is down in the GMG Racing pits.
Yeah, guys, I'm over here just kind of taking a look at what's going on their side. As you remember back in October when the series of GT America was announced, James James Sakronis is very excited about this opportunity for his drivers. And on track, you have Kyle Washington, Elias Sobo, and Jason Bell. I talked to the engineer over here. They're specifically looking at that number 2 Aston Martin on gaining ground against the competitors in front of him in the GT4 class. They feel that they will find a podium here in round 2.
Well, Jason Bell is the driver of that Aston Martin, and he's currently 4th, and he's very much in the mix just behind Sean Quinlan, who actually lost his spot on that last lap to Phil Bloom. So a change in the podium running for GT4. Our overall leader now passing the GT4 leader, that's Kurtz on Holland, putting him a lap down to the overall lead. But if you're new to mixed class racing, not a real problem for Rob Holland. He's only concerned about those in his class running the same GT4 spec cars. Interesting, though, that Quinlan had a bit of a bobble, it would seem, on that lap, and that has been a blessing for Holland, whose lead, remember, we talked about, it was down to about 5 seconds. It's up over 7 now.
Yeah, and I think it might have been the traffic of Charlie Luck and Kurtz coming through.
I think you're right. Always plays a factor. We often talk about the higher class cars and how they're affected by the lower class car, but the inverse is true as well, and in many respects it's harder to be in this lower car because you've got your own race and you can't just get out of the way and sacrifice your race just because the leader in another class is coming through.
Yeah, I've done a lot of the slower class racing and mixed racing, and what I found is you really cannot go side by side with those cars. They have the power to make up for that, where in the GT4 cars you don't. So if you go side by side, you're going to lose all sorts of time. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened to Quinlan on that go around with the 2 leaders.
Charlie Luck here, yesterday's Masters class winner, running in the lead of that class again and actually closing in on George Kurtz for the overall lead. The lead down to 5.9 seconds. So George was not able to make good his escape the way he was a day ago. All credit to Charlie Luck, who is looking very at home in this GT3 Porsche. Lots of experience in single-make Porsche racing, but this is a different challenge. And there you could see the gap visually, thanks to our camera crew. Charlie is closing in just a little bit. That Porsche GT3 Cup car, that's what Charlie comes from here in recent years, has a reputation of being very difficult to drive, and Porsche designed it that way. They view their Cup Series as an opportunity to identify young, up-and-coming talent, and they figure if you can be fast in a tough car to drive, you're going to be very fast in anything we put you in. It served them very well over the years, and that's true even for those who come to the sport a little bit later in life, like Charlie has, although, again, he does have some experience from several decades ago, but hasn't really pursued it in quite some time. Nevertheless, we saw it with Fred Pordat, for instance, last year and continuing this year, stepping out of GT3 Cup into the GT3 car and being on the pace pretty quickly.
Yeah, and Pordat's extremely good at keeping the tires under him, and that's really where his strength is, and handing over a great car to his pro driver. Good battle again here in GT4 and GT3 traffic.
Yeah, something has happened to Jason Harwood. He is back to 4th, lost his spot to Jeff Burton. Maybe it's just Jeff on the charge. Not entirely clear, but all credit to Jeff Burton, who's now on the overall podium as it runs at the moment. Let's get to DXTT Racing. Amanda's got an update there.
Yeah, I just snuck by there and asked why George Kurtz might be off pace a little bit. They said it's the traffic that they're heading into. So as excited as Wright Motorsports is on their charge to the number 1 spot overall, they know that they're going to have to go through that same traffic.
That's very true, and traffic giveth and traffic taketh away. Jason Harwood learning that lesson as we watch here through the carousel. Not much you can do if you catch a GT4 car at that part of the track.
And I think that's, again, we've talked about it with Harwood. He's got the speed, but the traffic is giving him some trouble, and that's just lack of experience. I can almost guarantee you as the season goes on, we'll see him improve in that regard and move up the field.
Safety car has been deployed. Full course yellow with 9.5 minutes to go. Waiting to see what the cause of this might be. We see the 69 of Miller. That's the car that had the issue at the very beginning of the race, even before the race started, coming down the pit lane. Has that damage to the front after the spin and contact with the wall. leaving the pits on cold tires. And let's see if something has happened to him again. And it appears that is the case. And I think the full course yellow is because we've got the signage stuck there in the middle of the track.
Yeah, I think Pirelli would like to thank him for moving that signage into the perfect spot for their, publicity, but not good for the race.
No, would not be our first choice. So safety car has to come out. The Lamborghini Urus safety car, new official safety vehicle of SRO America, and it is a beautiful looking and maybe more importantly, beautiful sounding car. It's a Lamborghini SUV, yes, but if you close your eyes, it still sounds like a Lamborghini.
Yeah, I think anything with a Lamborghini badge sounds the same, and it is a glorious sound.
It is, and it looks very sharp as well. Very luxurious interior. Great to have Lamborghini so heavily invested in the championship here in 2021 across both GT America, powered by AWS, and Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. I did see a little bit of confusion from some folks on social media yesterday, and so while we're under the safety car, maybe an explanation. This GT America series is brand new, 40-minute sprint races with a mix of GT3 and GT4 cars, actually also open to GT2. Just don't happen to have any this weekend. We do anticipate some coming by the time we get to Circuit of the Americas or at other times throughout the course of the season. Meanwhile, Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, that is what we've come to know as the 90-minute sprint race, or 90-minute race is not a sprint race because you have the pit stop, you have the driver change, you have the tire change and refueling as well. Same format we've had for about 3 years now, I think.
Yeah, last year it was mostly GT4 that ran the sprint races.
Correct.
And by combining GT3 and GT4, it gives more drivers an opportunity to run a sprint race, get their feet wet. And I think it's a really good move, and it's providing interesting racing. I think the person who's going to be hurt the most by this yellow flag is Rob Holland. So GT4 cars. He's got a couple of the GT3 cars in between him and Phil Bloom. But, yeah, I think Rob Holland's probably upset about this yellow flag more than anyone else.
That's a great point. I think Charlie Luck might have some thoughts that he could get to George Kurtz as well, but
lights are out.
Yes, you're right. Lights are out on the safety car, so we'll find out very soon. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the GT4 battle. It does look like a couple of cars separate first and second in GT4. Not so much for the overall lead. George Kurtz gets a good jump, but so does Charlie Luck. Coming around turn 12, looking for the green flag. 6 minutes remain in round 2 of the GT America, powered by AWS. Race of the season. Here comes Kurtz up the hill. Charlie Luck in hot pursuit. Really strong restart from George, but Charlie is right there. And this is as close as he has been. Now it's a matter of trying to find a place to pounce, assessing strengths and weaknesses. Comparing these two platforms, Joe, where do you expect the Porsche to maybe have some strength on the Mercedes and vice versa?
Generally with the Porsche, it's the acceleration out of the corners and or top speed. The Mercedes is probably the best all-rounder, meaning it doesn't do anything exceptionally well, but it does everything well.
One of the reasons it's so beloved. We have a spin here. That's Ross Schwest. And a trying day for Ross, I'm afraid to say. Able to get that car going, though, so we remain green with 5 minutes to go. Just a handful of laps remaining. Round 2 of the championship. George Kurtz trying to go 2 for 2 on the weekend. Charlie Luck also looking for a sweep of the weekend at the Masters class, but he'd love to add an overall win if he can do so. Here we go. Rob Holland, GT4 leader. He's got Kyle Washington coming through in one of the GT3 cars. Washington running 7th overall. And right behind, you saw in the back of the picture, that's Phil Bloom in the classic BMW Gt4 Gt4. Phil, lots of touring car experience, run some single-make Porsche stuff over the years, a little bit in GT4 cars in the past. Looking very, very at home, and he's got a lot of help as well from this classic BMW team that's been a stalwart for so many years.
Yeah, he ran with that team in touring car last year, It'll be interesting to see if Holland can hang on. Traffic is now no longer in play, and I don't expect it to be in play for the rest of the race for the Gt4 runners, so it's going to come down to raw speed.
Mustang versus BMW. Running in third at the moment is Sean Quinlan, also in a BMW. Jason Bell looking for that podium Amanda talked about. He's lurking. If anything should happen in front of him, he's there ready to pounce. Field accordions up there and under braking. It's turn 4. Now the right-hand bend of turn 5 and into the carousel, turn 6, one of the most difficult corners on the track. Puts a lot of load in these Pirelli tires as well. Long duration corner. It's tight up front at GT3 too. George Kurtz, last time by a 6/10 of a second lead over Charlie Luck. I am curious how aggressive Charlie is willing to be to go for that overall victory. I'm sure it's awfully tempting. It's right out the window.
Yeah, I think that he would go for it if he has the speed. I have no doubt in my mind he would love to tell everyone that he won overall from a master's position.
Into the hairpin here. 2 minutes, 45 seconds left. Just a handful of laps remaining. George Kurtz looking for a sweep of the weekend. Overall, looks like he's got a good chance of at least sweeping the weekend in class. Here we drop back and look at Jeff Burton, who appears to have a problem, which is definitely a shame. It looked like he was headed to pit lane a moment ago and elected to stay out on track. Jeff had a great race going, running up in podium contention, but something has gone awry.
And the GT4 leader, Holland, is now just going by. So, of course, the kiss of death, I said there wouldn't be traffic. And now traffic is coming into play for the GT4 leaders.
Burton pulling off the racing line to let the GT4 field through. Holland, to this point, has been able to maintain that gap. He was benefited by having a couple of GT3 cars in between himself and Bloom on that restart, and that created that gap. And to this point, it has not really shrunk. So Rob Holland has done a great job looking after the tires in that Mustang.
Yeah, interesting in GT4, the 5th, 6th, and 7th place cars had faster laps than first, second, and third that last time by. I don't think there's enough time for him to come into play, because I believe they're going to get the white flag this time.
Into the chicane. Charlie Luck not close enough to make a pass. Looking back, we saw Harward running in third. Daskalos now fourth. Novikov runs fifth. And Kyle Washington has moved up to the 6th spot overall. Looks like George Kurtz has actually been able to make that lead extend here on this lap. We'll check and see if my eyes have deceived me when they cross the line and get the updated gap. Less than a minute remaining, and there is the white rag in the air. Just one more lap to go, 2.5 miles for George Kurtz, looking to sweep the weekend on the opening weekend of GT America powered by AWS. Charging down the hill, hard on the brakes. Now a big climb back up the hill to the highest point on the circuit. It's about 140 feet of elevation change between high point and low point here on this track. Rob Holland now across the line. The lead at the front of the field overall, 1.2 seconds. Holland's gap back to Bloom, 1.7 seconds. Phil hanging in there, but not getting closer.
Yeah, Quinlan, I believe, is now pressuring Bloom too. But George Kurtz is just pulling away from Charlie now. Half a lap to go.
For the final time through 7 and 7A, the DXDT racing crew watches on. I'd love to add a little bit of hardware for the second win here this weekend through the S's now. Just a few corners left to negotiate for George Kurtz. Through the chicane. First the right, now the left. Yesterday, he had to overcome a penalty to make it to victory lane. Today, no such dramas. It's a tour de force for George Kurtz coming through turn 11 for the last time in race number 2 of the weekend. George Kurtz to the front straightaway, the left-hand bend of turn 12, and the checkered flag awaits. George Kurtz sweeps the weekend at Sonoma. Charlie Luck comes across the line in second, but wins the Masters division for the second straight day. Now we await Jason Harward, as well as Daskalos. They cross the line third and fourth. Novikov in fifth, Washington sixth. Now focus on the GT4 cars. Rob Holland in the Mustang. Phil Bloom just behind. Quinlan taking a peek to the inside, but the door is slammed shut. Dalton has spun behind this field. Pappas seems to have a problem. Sabo charging on him here in the closing moments. Up at the front, though, the win to Rob Holland in his return to SRO America competition. Coming home second, Phil Bloom. Sean Quinlan fades to third with Jason Bell just one spot shy of that podium that he was shooting for today. He'll have to settle for fourth, while Adelson, in an impressive performance in his debut weekend, will take that Porsche home in the fifth spot. But the man of the hour right there, George Kurtz. 2 straight wins to start the weekend, and I'm sure this one he's a bit happier about just because he didn't have to overcome his own mistake.
Yeah, he can just talk about dominating and not talk about going from the front to the back to the front. So it's always good to dominate a race. Did a nice job. DXDT did a great job of preparing that car.
That DXDT racing team has invested so much. They have expanded to 3 cars in GT World Challenge America, running a touring car program as well. Here you see the unofficial results. George Kurtz, the overall and class winner. Charlie Luck, Masters winner, finishes second overall. Once again, Jason Harward, strong performance in his debut weekend of pro racing. Jason Daskalos, Dmitry Novikov, the top 5. Then it's Kyle Washington in 6th. The winner in GT4 also finishes 7th overall. Rob Holland, Phil Bloom, Sean Quinlan, the GT4 class podium. Ford, BMW, then an Aston Martin, Porsche, another Porsche, and Audi, just to give an idea of the diversity in GT4 here in GT America racing. Well, not quite the fireworks we saw in round 1 as we see the final results dropping down to the bottom of the order. A couple of drivers that did not have the kind of days they were looking for. It all went wrong early for Miller. Burton had that issue late in the race, had a promising race come undone. Schwest, a couple of instances of contact, and didn't really seem to be necessarily of his own making, but not the day he was looking for. Matt Dalton to spin at the very end. As I was saying, not the fireworks we saw in round 1 yesterday, but still competitive racing and the mixed class aspect of this, GT3 and GT4, there were some questions. Would they play nice together? I thought it added to the show.
I think it did too, and congrats to Rob Holland, new program, getting that Mustang in front. Phil Bloom, who's moved up from touring car, only his second race in a GT4 car, finishes second. So they'll both be a force to be reckoned with for the rest of the year in GT4.
No question, they have established themselves as challengers here in the opening weekend. From here, the series will head to Circuit of the Americas, followed by a trip to VIR. At the Nashville Street Circuit, very exciting. Elkhart Lake, Watkins Glen, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to conclude the season. Let's hear from our race winners with Amanda.
Well, round 1 and round 2 to open up the 2021 season belongs to this man, George Kurtz. And George, when you kick off this inaugural season for GT America, how much confidence does this give your team?
I think a lot of confidence. We knew we had to speed this weekend. Actually, had to work through some challenges, highs and lows, as we talked about. But this was a great race, and I'm glad that we got it in the books and on to the next event.
We talked to you prior to the broadcast just how gratifying the win was yesterday. What will you take from this weekend?
Well, if you put the work in and you put your head down, you can accomplish what you want. Get the win, and it's great for the team, and we look forward to the GT race.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thanks.
George is a guy, when he puts his mind to something, there's no half measures. It is full steam ahead, whether that's his business, CrowdStrike, which has really emerged as a leader in its industry, as well as his racing, which he takes extremely seriously. Here are the points leaving Sonoma here for GT America. George Kurtz, with a couple of wins, has the advantage over Charlie Luck. This is in the overall standings. Jason Harward, Kyle Washington, Jason Daskalos tied at the moment. with Rob Holland. Interesting to see the GT4 cars mixed into the overall championship points. And we go down to Dmitry Novikov, Sean Quinlan, Jeff Burton, all tied at 10 points apiece. But you look up at that, 50 points leaving race one. It's not a massive lead, only 14 points over Charlie Luck. But especially if you're anyone other than Charlie, you're looking at a big hole to dig out of leaving the first round of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt's just dominated, honestly, the weekend, and definitely has a big lead.
No question about that. Curious to see as well what the Masters points look like and the GT4 points. I'm sure we'll have those tallied up at one point or another. But definitely an interesting start to the season for GT America. Speaking of our Masters class, let's hear from a two-time winner in the series now, and Charlie Luck.
Well, Ryan, even after his win yesterday, you'll remember Charlie Luck had tears in his eyes. I imagine sweeping the weekend in the Masters class has to be meaningful to you in this performance.
Oh, my gosh. First